This is Dolynny TV. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion on the channel as we get set. Well, we're 3 days away from the draft. Then that leaves you about 9 days away from free agency, 9 sleeps, whatever the math may be on that. And then all hell breaks loose for about a week, and then we go into dormancy for July and August, not so much on the channel, but in terms of Oilers news. And that's when we start crackpot theorying everything out the window. But today, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm going to pitch to you, what if, in this cap crunch, that now it might be only 82.5, might be 82, but 81, the cap might not be 83. That's the fear. That's the rumbling going around town today. Well, if that is the case, even if that's not the case and it is 83, guess what? Maybe, just maybe, as I'm pitching to you today, we're looking at the Edmonton Oilers roster situation all wrong. Absolutely incorrect. And this is via a tweet that, might be a little bit less serious than I'm trying to make it out to be, but realistically, you look at it and you pause for a second and you take into consideration what quite a few of us have said in the comments and on live streams throughout the year that I was live streaming up until February, and it really kind of almost flips everything we've said on its head. So let's, without a doubt, get to the tweet. No, those are stats. If you figured out whose stats those are, you're doing good. Here we go, tweet. I'll ruin it anyway. As a side note from Wheaton Oil, at Wheaton Oil on Twitter, you know what would be a creative way to make room on D for Jones, Person, Bear, Bouchard? We know the four. We know the four we need to find a spot for. You can add Samorukov. You can add Legason into that equation as well. In a world where dumping cap might be difficult, right? That's where you're looking at the 81 to 82.5 cap, not the 83, I think is what Wheaton Oil is getting at. Wheaton Oil, if you're tuning into this, hey, shout out to you for this one. Huge thanks, buddy, for getting my gears going in the truck all day this afternoon. Put Nurse at forward for a year. What'd you just say? Hold on. Nurse at forward. He's a defenseman. What a stupid idea. No. This is exactly where this leads. Because you look at the Oilers, right? You look at, I've been shouting the bad contracts on the back end. Sekera, Larson. Clefbaum to a degree, if he stays healthy, it's not, but the injuries are bad. And then you've got Russell, and Darnell Nurse is due for a pay grade raise next year, and then what do, right? Well, right there, guys. That is the key. That's the key. We need to figure out what to do with the D. And if you're looking at a cap situation in which trades are not going to be as friendly to you as they should be if the cap's at 83, Darnell Nurse at forward suddenly is an idea you have to pause and look at if you're, Dave Tippett and, of course, General Manager Ken Holland, who are working by all means in tandem. This is the beauty of building an NHL roster. You're free to do whatever the heck you feel like when you construct your roster in the NHL. Well, Darnell Nurse at forwards, not the craziest thing, right? We've seen Dustin Byfuglien be put at forward just to stand in front of the net. Literally just stand in front of the net. And he was very successful in doing that. Zap, get over here. Get over here. That's enough of that. Thank you. You're up here the rest of the game. So, Darnell Nurse at forward, why does it make sense? Well, let's go make our first point, which would be the stats. Now, that's the tweet. That's Wheaton Oil. Shout out to you, bud. So, you look at Darnell Nurse from, I believe, his second year of junior in 12-13. 41 points in 68 games. The guy is an offensive machine. That's what I'm trying to get at. This guy has a good shot. He plays an offensive style game, and he is a productive guy when he's on the ice with the bigger dogs. Then you look, he goes to Oklahoma, has a point in 4 AHL games. Back then, it was a little tougher to put up AHL points than it is now, I'd say, just based on what some of the rookies are doing. Maybe the crop of talent's better. Maybe the talent is better, so we can't argue that. And then you look at the Edmonton Oilers. The next year he played 2 games, no points. Well, that was his first NHL taste, and as a defenseman, that's as to be expected. Oklahoma, no points on the ledger and no games. And then in Sault Ste. Marie, 33 points in 36 games. Ladies and gentlemen, those are stud numbers. I mean, you're talking top of the draft NHL defenseman numbers. Well, right there, guys, that's why Darnell Nurse was drafted where he was, no doubt about it. However, you can argue that as a forward, that's a top-tier second-round pick we're talking about right there. So now we move into the World Juniors, which was a good year for him. 1 goal, 1 assist, 7 points. I believe that was the gold medal team that we all watched that Christmas in 14. And then you've got the Edmonton Oilers in 15-16. He had 10 points, minus 13, while the defensive game struggled. That's the part. Everybody says Darnell Nurse needs to learn how to play defense if he wants to be a defenseman in the NHL. Hold on. There's the counterpoint again. What if he was a forward? What if? And then you've got the 2 games in Bakersfield, 9 points. Not bad. And then, 16-17, the playoff year, 11 points in 44 games, 2 points in 13 games in the playoffs. Okay, all right, I see where you're going. And then, last year, 26 points in 82 games. That's production. For the Oilers defense, that is production no matter which way you cut it, points-wise. Plus 15 as well. And then this year, 41 points. This guy was a 41-point defenseman. I mean, the Oilers were crap poor, miserable at defense this year, but you throw a bunch of guys that aren't used to their role into their role, that's going to cause some issues. And if the D would have stayed healthy, maybe we wouldn't have had as much of a problem. Remember, Darnell Nurse was a top pairing defenseman with Adam Larson for quite a good chunk of this year, so yeah, not good. 41 points, a minus 5 in 82 games played. So now, all of a sudden, let's get to the math. Let's go get to the math. I'd bring up a graphic, but there's no way I can screen cap this right for you guys. Forward-wise, who do we have at forward this year signed up? We have a center in Connor McDavid. We have a winger center in Leon Draisaitl. We have a left winger in Milan Lucic. We have a centerman left winger in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. We have a center right winger in Sam Gagner. We have a right winger in Zach Kassian. So right there you've got 5 wingers, 3-4 centers, however you want to look at it. Kyle Brodziak, a center signed. We don't know what's happening with him. Left winger, Joakim Nygard. Well, right there, that's a guy that's going to be in the top 9. Colby Cave, a centerman. You've got to re-sign Jesse Puljujärvi for sure, and you're probably re-signing Jujhar Khaira. So, right there, you've got a couple more wingers, centers added to the mix, and what does that leave you? That leaves you still a top 6 winger short of a team that can compete if you bring up Gambardella, Curry, Marudi, Benson, Yamamoto, whoever you want to name from the farm. So, if you're looking at a cap crunch and you're Ken Holland and you cannot find a deal, which the Oilers fans, that's I think got to be number 1 in a deal. If you're making a deal at the draft, you got to find a deal that isn't going to be picks that could have been Matthew Barzal for Griffin Reinhart. Right. We can't do that again. Can't. So, if you're Ken Holland, you got to look at the fans first. To a degree, obviously, fans don't dictate business moves, but you get where I'm going with it. You'd like to have a GM that has the fans in mind. So if you can't find that deal for a defenseman at the draft before this whole week ends on Friday and in free agency over the summer, guess what? Darnell Nurse at forward at $3.2 million already committed frees up cap to maybe find that top 6 forward or solve you twice over, find the forward for Nuge, whether it be Nurse or another guy, and Nurse with McDavid or another guy, which you were able to sign because you freed up the spot for Person, Jones, Bear, Bouchard on the back end, not moving a contract, didn't have to use that money. You didn't have to use that money on a top 6 forward and somebody else. You only had to use it on one guy. That's the math, right? You save. Realistically, Darnell Nurse transitioning to forward opens up about $2 to $2.5 million in extra cap space. The Oilers, if it were an $82 million cap, would only have $8.8 million in cap space. You math that out. You logic with me. If you are thinking of it any other way, let me know in the comments. I want to hear your math on this. But the math on this is saying, if you move Darnell Nurse, in my mind, to a forward, you effectively have $10.5 million in cap space, realistically, compared to what you have if you're using Darnell Nurse as a defenseman next year. Did I mention he wants to be a forward half the time? I don't think I did. That's the only other thing I've really got on this, is the drawback that we all complain about Darnell Nurse is he's too deep in the offensive zone 90% of the shift when he should be playing defense. That's the other side. You eliminate it, you get the faux increase in the cap hit, you solve a positional need, and you give yourself a chance to work a roster that maybe GMs were thinking, man, the Oilers are in a tight spot, we can take advantage of them. You work Darnell Nurse in as a forward. Guys, that changes the look of the Edmonton Oilers outright. 110%. It's something to be thought about. Guys, I want to know your thought, your reaction in the comment section down below. My cat's about to scratch, so that's why I'm trying to leave the video. As always, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. I will catch you in the comment section down below. Until next time, I'll catch you later.